Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Joanie Simon. We are back here in the kitchen, as you can see, and we are doing episode number 3 out of 4 for the Grills Only series. This is the dessert, this is the coup de grace, this is the fabulousness, because we are doing grilled pie. That's right, this is gonna go beautifully with those Hawaiian burgers that we already cooked up, and then also those potato kebabs. So now we're gonna do a mixed berry pie in these cute little Lodge cast iron skillets, and we're gonna bake it off in this cool little device called the Baker Stone Pizza Box, which goes on our grill. So with no further ado, let's jump in the kitchen and get started on that pie crust. So any good pie, of course, starts with a pie crust, and no problem. You can definitely go buy them at the store. I have no problem with that, but I'm gonna tell you, a homemade pie crust is so much better. It's super tasty. So, and they're really not as hard as I originally had thought they were. Honestly, I've only been making my own pie crust for the last couple months because I, like many people, was too scared and thought, oh, you have to be like hardcore grandma typed in order to know how to make a nice flaky pie crust. But it's so not true. They are super easy, and I'm gonna show you. So what we wanna do is we wanna take some butter, because that is the hallmark of any great pie crust, right? Is that flaky, buttery pie crust. So in order to achieve that, we're just taking out some good old standard unsalted butter, okay? Because we want to add our own salt. We don't want the butter to tell us how much salt to do. And we're going to do 12 tablespoons. So that is a cup and a half of butter. And this is nice and cold, like straight out of the fridge, super cold, because we want that butter to be able to hold together and stay firm so that when we're cooking it, those nice little pockets of butteriness stick together, and that's what makes it flaky. So we've got the butter, and then I'm gonna do 1.5 cups of flour. There we go. And I'm just using an all-purpose flour. That is my recommended type of flour for this recipe. And then, of course, always some salt. If you don't salt it, you're just not going to have that flavor in the pie crust. You don't want a boring pie crust, right? And then I just put the lid on. And this is always the hard part, right? Can Joanie put the lid on the Cuisinart? No. Why is this always a struggle? Why? Okay, there we go. We're on. Okay, and then let her rip. And usually I'll go ahead and pulse it a couple times like that, because what we're looking for is for that butter to turn into kind of little pearl-sized guys. Yeah, that's perfect. And then I'm gonna measure out about a half cup of water. And from there, we're really gonna eyeball the consistency, because we may not use the whole half cup. We want just enough so that it holds the dough together, but we don't want it too sticky and wet. It's like the perfect balance. That's the grandma portion of this, is like just that knowing what it should feel like and what that consistency is like. So from there, I've got my work surface here, and I'm gonna flour that up. Nice little all-purpose flour, because we don't want things to stick. All right, take off the top there. And I'm gonna pour it all out onto my work surface. And this is the perfect consistency. You can see it's a little bit crumbly, totally cool. Because what you're gonna see is when I start to gather it up, it's still gonna stick to itself, but it's not too wet. You'll know that you have gone too far in the liquid department if it's super sticky, but this is perfect. It's holding together quite nicely. And this will make enough for 3 of these. How cute are these? These little Lodge cast iron skillets. They're 5-inchers. I just think they are so cute and absolutely perfect for this dessert, because I'm having 3 couples. So there's 3 couples in total. So one of these is plenty enough for a couple, because I'm gonna load it up with ice cream in addition to the pie. So now what we wanna do is, we've got our dough here. I'm gonna go ahead and separate it into 3s. And then roll those into balls, and then cover them in plastic wrap and let them chill out and hang out for about an hour. That's just gonna allow that butter to get cold again and firm up so that it will be perfect when we roll these out. All right, so our pie crusts have been hanging out for about an hour. They are perfectly chilled. That butter is all firmed up again, which is exactly what we want. Get out the rolling pin and flour the work surface. Again, we don't want it sticking to the work surface. And then we're just gonna get my dough balls out of the way. And then you just wanna roll this out. And we want it thin enough. Oop, get a little more flour there. All right, this is obviously not the cleanest mess-free recipe, but it's so good. Oh my gosh, these, I might have eaten them for lunch yesterday. What? Okay, so I've got my pie crust, and this is a great thickness right about, whoa, lost some pieces. It's okay. All right, tack you down. So this is about, oh, I don't know how thick this is. Do you know measurements? I don't. I'm really bad at measuring. Numbers are not my gig. Cooking is. Okay, so now from here, I would say this is, I don't know. You can see how thin that is. Maybe a 1/6 of an inch? I don't know. So now what I want to do, real quick, before I put my pie crust in there, take some butter, and then this is softened butter. I just use my hands because the good Lord gave me some 2 good hands, and they are the best tools I got. And so this is just to prevent our pie crust from sticking. And 2, it's going to do a really cool thing. When we stick it in the baker's stone, it's going to crisp up, and it's going to help create a great texture on that pie crust. Because you know when you do like a pie, you want that bottom part to be soft, or flaky and pie crusty as well. So I just layer that inside ever so gently to prevent tearing. And I want to cut around the edges, but I don't want to completely, I want to leave a nice little lip on there because that's going to help us in creating a really pretty edge. Now, there are some people who create amazingly beautiful edges. Like if you go on Pinterest, there's like these rose ones and I mean, all sorts of insanity. I don't get that crazy. I am not your tablescape girl. I am, you're just darn good, tasty food girl. That's what I go for. But if you get super inspired by those, please feel free to go bananas. So I've got the pie crust, and then I would finish that off with the other 3 little fellas there. So we can bake them off, but then I take that excess pie crust, and this is what we're gonna use to make our lattice work, that pretty sort of design on top. And I'm just gonna roll this back out. All right. And I want enough length on it so that it can fit across that 5-inch width of our little baking pans. But, all right, don't stick. All right, excellent. So I'm gonna put him to the side because we need to make our filling, right? We've got these beautiful berries, which it is summertime, so let's take full advantage. And I'm using raspberries and blueberries and blackberries. They cook up really nicely. I've got 3 pints of those, 1 pint of each of those, all tossed together. Oh, I got a couple leaves. Whoops, thought I got all those. Then what I wanna do is add some cornstarch, and cornstarch is gonna help to make a nice thickening agent for our sauce, because what's gonna happen is that these are gonna bake in that super hot oven. And so what we want the juices to do is to combine with the cornstarch to create a nice sort of gooey, sloppy, hot mess, delicious filling. And then I've got a tablespoon of our flour, just to kind of an additional binder in there to keep everything together. And then I'm looking for some sugar. I've got some brown sugar, and I'm using brown sugar in the filling just because it's got that more caramely note to it than a white sugar, but you could use white sugar if that's all you've got on hand, or if that's what you prefer. So I'm gonna do about half cup. Depends on how sweet you like your pie. I like mine kind of somewhere in the middle, so anywhere between 1/4 to 1/2 of a cup of that brown sugar will do you just fine. Be perfect. We can always add a little bit more sugar on top. And I've got some fresh nutmeg, a little ground nutmeg here. Penzi spices, love them. All right, I think that is my filling, and then I'm just gonna toss that around with my hands. And we don't need to pre-cook this, because again, that baker's stone on the grill is gonna get this pie filling super screaming hot. That thing gets up to like 800, 900 degrees. So it does this really cool thing where it kind of cooks the insides of the berries, but keeps the outsides whole. You'll see in the final effect, it is super rad. All right, so I've got my filling, I've got my pie. So then what I do is I just drop some of those berries, and I don't want to make it too tall just because I want to be able to clear the top and keep it relatively, I don't know, uniform and pretty. And what we're going to do too is we're going to top this off with ice cream when we serve it, which, oh my gosh, vanilla ice cream and berry pie. I mean, that screams summer to me. And I'm going to make sure, because there's a lot of this sort of, the sugar and the flour that's left in the bottom, so I just sprinkle a little bit of extra of that on top. Don't want to lose all that. All right, there we go. Making a mess in the kitchen today. If you're not making a mess, you're not doing it right. And then I've got my top that we had here. And this is where then looks like I'm bleeding. I'm not bleeding, it's just raspberries. Okay, then I slice this down here. And you can make these as thick or as thin as you want. I like to make them thin enough so that I get multiples of them, but then you can still see the berries because those berries are so pretty. We don't have them all year long, so you want to celebrate them while you've got them. All right, and then what you do is just lay these ever so gently across, doing that, really cool lattice work pattern. This is where you really hone that underwater basket weaving class you took in college, right? Right, okay. So I've got lattice going on. You see we have the alternating every other one. That's how we make it work. And okay, this one's an under, over, under. Right here, he's an under, over, under, over, under. Okay. Look how cool this is. And see, this is not hard. This is super easy. And what's great is that you can do all of this part before your guests even arrive. Typically, I will do this, I will make the pie crust in the morning, and then I will fill it and top it kind of somewhere in the afternoon. And then as soon as the guests get here actually after we have dinner. So once we've had our entree and everybody's just kind of relaxing, I'm not one to race right into dessert because hello, we had those big old burgers and potatoes, and so everybody needs a little time to digest. So then what I'll do is as everybody's finishing up dinner, I'll run out and throw these into the grill, and we're gonna do that next so you can see exactly how that all goes down. But that's just, it makes it super easy, so then you serve them right fresh out of the oven, piping hot, that ice cream on top. I love that contrast to the hot and cold together. And you can see what I'm doing. I'm just folding the I'm just folding the crust up under itself, like right here, and then just kind of pinching it. It's not perfect, but gosh darn, it's delicious. All right, and that is what the pie looks like. Super cool, right? Now what I want to do is throw these back in the refrigerator and just hang out. Like I said, I don't cook these off until after we've had dinner, but once you are ready to serve them and pull them out of the refrigerator, then I just top them off with a little bit of egg wash because that makes a nice shiny top and a little bit of just, glistening factor on the top of our pie. And it's just eggs. Some people will throw a little water in there. Me, I just go straight for the eggs. You could also do egg whites, whatever floats your boat. So get that on, liberal swath, and then take a little bit of extra granulated sugar and drizzle it over the top so that we make sure that we've got a nice little bit of sweetness on top of the crust as well, because that only had salt in it. Now from here, I take these out to our baker's stone. So let's go ahead and fire these puppies off and see what they look like when they're done. All right, everybody's finishing up dinner, so now it's time to fire off our pies. And this right here is the baker's stone pizza oven box. This thing rocks. It gets up to like 800, 900 degrees, which means when we're talking about pizza crust and pie crust, is that you get that super high heat, which creates really great texture. So on a pizza, you're gonna get that really nice, crispy, crackly crust with a great little air pockets and things like that. Whereas on the pie, because we've got the butter in there, it's gonna hit that super fast, and then it's gonna prevent it from kind of getting all, mushy and gooey. It's gonna get it nice and crispy and flaky. I just love a good flaky pie crust. So all I have to do, I've got this all preheated up. It's got a little dial up here. It shows me it is rocking hot. So I'm just gonna throw this in here. And of course, we'd have all the others as well. You can fit up to about 4 inside of there, and then we just let this sit for about 4 minutes, and then I want to rotate it with this. I don't know what this is, but it's great. It came with the box. And then I want to rotate it about 4 minutes because there is some, little hot spots on there. And then after that, I'm going to turn all the heat off and then let it just chillax for about 10 minutes to finish the cooking process. And from there, they're pretty much ready to serve. So I'm going to keep my eyeball on this, and then I'll check back in with you as soon as they are done. All right, I have been waiting patiently, as have you. So let's go ahead and see what we've got. And we've got ourselves a nice little skillet pie right there for you. And I like to top these off. I'll let them cool for a couple minutes because I don't want people to, I'm gonna go ahead and set that down. We'll toasty. But I will let those cool for just a couple minutes before serving them to my guests. I don't want to light people's mouths on fire, and I don't want to burn my table either with those scalding hot Lodge cast iron skillets. But then I'll top them off with a little bit of vanilla ice cream. And when I say a little, I mean a lot, because let's be real, I love ice cream. Thank you so much for joining me for this series, but the party is not over yet. I want to show you how this all comes together because of course we did our burgers, we did our potato kebabs, and now this all grilled out here on our beautiful grill. I want to take it inside and show you the party, how it all comes together. So stay tuned for the next episode, 4th and final installment of Grills Only here on my channel. Thank you so much. Please be sure to subscribe, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and you can get the recipe and everything all linked in the comments below. Go check it out. Party on, stay out of trouble. I'll see you guys real soon. Okay, bye.